What is the absolute stupidest propaganda you have ever heard? I remember seeing an anti-train flyer from like the 1800s. Said something like God didn't intend man to go faster than 20 miles per hour. Or something along those lines. There's a politician that was accused of witchcraft a few years ago. Alkaline water is healthy for you, so better go buy some. Women shouldn't be allowed to vote because the stress of voting would cause them to become infertile. The spork is the devil's utensil because it is the amalgamation of the masculine fork and the feminine spoon and is trying to blur gender lines in society. We're all in this together. Our company is a family. JKF Jr. rising from the dead. WTF. Face with rolling eyes. All those funny stories and Korea tells about how they single-handedly beat the US military. Or how their leader is a perfect human. Always makes me giggle. Back when I lived in China, I got this English language news channel. They would have these commercials with Chinese Muslims, the Uyghurs, where they would be like, "Hello. I am Mo Chen. I used to be a terrorist. But now I am a baker." These were people coming out of the re-education schools. I'm pretty sure if they were actual terrorists, they would be ground up and spread over a field somewhere. Everyone detests working from home so much and absolutely cannot wait to go back to the office full time. Perpetrated by banks who are shitting themselves that commercial real estate might fall apart. I read this story in various forms in Canada 2 to 3 times a month. I have not met any of these people yet, virtually or otherwise. I grew up during the Satanic Panic in the late 80s and 90s. According to the preacher, if kids liked something, it was satanic. The Simpsons was satanic because Bart encouraged us to disobey out parents, and the hang 10 hand sign was the sign of the beast. Any music that wasn't church hymns or country music was satanic because it was worldly and promoted sex. Especially Ozzy and Led Zeppelin, who my preacher mentioned the demonic message in the alleged backmasking. Nickelodeon was satanic because Legends of the Hidden Temple had an Olmec head that was a graven image of another god. Are You Afraid of the Dark was satanic because it taught kids how to summon demons, because of the episode with the glasses that could see shadow people. Professional wrestling was satanic because of the NWO, New World Order wrestling group, and Sting. Every other denomination that didn't quite agree was branded as satanic. 30+ years later, and now I'm a non-theistic Satanist. Not because of any of the before-mentioned satanic stuff, but because of my upbringing and hypocrisy of the church. Go figure. Edit. Once my preacher called evolution satanic and said, "That's why they call it evolution," and myself and several people audibly groaned. He even acknowledged it was cringy, but true, lol. HR is there to help you. That global warming has to do with you having children, being a regular everyday person, but the elites taking their private jets everywhere has nothing to do with it. Till Reddit doesn't know the difference between conspiracy and propaganda. All homosexuals are pedophiles. PPL were saying when Biden was sworn in him and Trump switched bodies and then he would declare something? IDK. This was back before January 9th when he got sworn in. They based it off a movie where the characters swapped faces. It was going all over local Facebook groups in our area, people believing it. I cannot remember most of the details, but it was pretty dumb nonetheless. I'm from the Philippines. One of the bloodiest periods in our contemporary history was when former President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law for nearly 2 decades and used a pretense of fighting communist elements and lawlessness to crack down hard on dissent while simultaneously stealing billions from the country's coffers. It's been well documented both by local and international investigating bodies that the Marcos family and their cronies committed atrocious human rights violations, e.g. murder, rape, torture, against not only political opponents, but basically anyone who disagreed with their terribly corrupt governance or anyone they just wanted killed for some reason. The plunder of billions of dollars worth of state funds were also well documented. Now the son, Marcos Jr., is running for president in 2022 and has a strong chance of winning because a lot of people have been indoctrinated that martial law was some kind of golden age. They've been taught by propagandists that the huge national debt we've been paying off for decades was because of infrastructure projects during the elder Marcos time, which is actually partially true. Although those projects were intentionally commissioned during martial law to gain FM credit while leaving future presidents to worry about the consequences of so much debt. Not to mention the billions that the Marcos family, including Marcos Jr., has been confirmed to have funneled into personal bank accounts and benefited from all these years. Most despicably, the murders and rapes committed by Marcos henchmen all those years ago are being dismissed by these brainwashed modern-day Marcos loyalists as being morally acceptable because they claim only rebels and communists were killed. Never mind the dozens of confirmed cases of innocent people, mostly youths and activists, being kidnapped, sexually abused, then tortured and/or murdered because they dared to criticize the government or simply because some of the Marcos goons found them attractive. How do these duped loyalists explain the luxury enjoyed by the Marcos family until today? Even after being forced into exile during the People Power Revolution in the 80s? Apparently the Marcoses possess 400,000 metric tons of gold given to FM as payment for his services as a lawyer before becoming president. Never mind, that's more gold than exists in the entire world. The biggest reason people cling to this propaganda of the Marcos family themselves being victims of propaganda is the lack of martial law education in our basic school curriculum, as well as the fact that even after martial law, corruption remained rampant in government. So much so that people eventually came up with the idea that the Marcoses' sins were fabricated, both by the opposing political families in the country which gained power after ML, as well as their supposed allies in the US. Which is a little ironic, as it was also known that CIA and US executive elements have had dealings with Marcos and did nothing about the human rights violations and the plunder. While it is true that all presidents after Ferdinand Marcos also had, without exception, cases of corruption in their cabinets, it's really inexplicable that people would choose to disregard history and even consider to elect again to highest office a member of the family which has been proven beyond doubt to be murderers and thieves, in the process believing in so many crazy lies and propaganda about the Marcos family that this overlong Reddit has barely even scratched the surface. Good luck, Philippines. Sending indigenous kids to boarding school was justified because they needed to be saved from their savage ways. From history textbooks. Yeah, that turned out all right. I've seen and heard a few really outrageous ones. The most recent regarding the COVID vaccine. There was some guy flashing signs on a street corner nearby a couple weeks ago. I saw, "The COVID vaccine will make you sterile. The vaccine will prevent you from getting into heaven." The vaccine will change your child's DNA so they won't be your child anymore. And the vaccine is Bill Gates' pact with the devil. Personally, being non-religious, I find it hilarious certain people seem to believe that atheists and non-religious folk are automatically evil and hateful, etc. It boggles the mind.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.